What's up, gentlemen? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. In this video, I'm going to get into the raw reality of how height affects dating overseas. Now, as many of you know, I've been to over 50 different countries and I've dated in many of these countries, and this is solely my experience. And to get my point across, I'm actually going to tell you a very quick story. And then finally, at the end of this video, I'm going to give you a few tips, especially if you are a little bit on the shorter side of things. And for context, I'm about 5'9", 5'9 and a half or so keep that in mind. Now, once upon a time, I was in Eastern Europe. I believe this happened in Poland. And I met a woman through the dating apps, super attractive, super fit, super friendly, super fun, or so it appeared. So we hit it off and then we planned a date. She ended up meeting me at my place and we were going to walk to the destination we were going to. And one of the first things she said to me while walking to the place we were going is, "Wow, I thought you were taller." Now, before I finish this story, here is what I want to say. It would be dishonest of me to say that height does not affect your dating, especially if you are probably around 5'5" or less. I will be 100% honest and transparent. I don't think I have ever seen an extremely short guy with an extremely attractive woman. Now, if you're about my height, I do not think it's a problem. But I'll also say that if you are taller than me, if you're 6'1" or above, 6 foot or above probably, then you are probably at an advantage. Now, obviously, I am 5'9 and a half or so I don't have any experience being extremely short, so like 5'3", and I don't have any experience being extremely tall. I can only share my experience and the things that I have seen. And for the most part, I don't see extremely short dudes with extremely attractive women. Now, there may be an exception to the rule, but in general, which means what is most common, is they are going to be with at least men of average height. And I've talked about my Russian buddies before in this video. My Russian buddy is about my height and his wife is actually taller than him. And that is not, I wouldn't say it's common, but it's not uncommon. But he is my height. He's not 5'5", he's not 5'4", he's not 5'3", he's not 5'1". So what I'll say is this. I think height matters less overseas than it does in a place like the United States. But I do think it is still a factor if you are on the extremely short end of the spectrum, because once again, never seen an extremely attractive woman with someone who is extremely short. I will also say that when it comes to overseas, especially in places like Eastern Europe, Mexico, Southeast Asia to an extent, how you present yourself is probably more important than skin color, height, and all that other stuff. So once again, this is just my experience and some of the things that I have seen. Height matters certainly less than it does in the United States, but if you're extremely short, then I wouldn't expect to be doing super well. Now, that's not to say you can't, I've just never seen it. So if you are extremely short, then you should be working on your looks. You should be working on your status. You should be making sure you're well presented and well spoken and you have social skills. And you'll probably want to rely more on social circle game than cold approach or dating apps if that is a problem. But that's another thing. If you're extremely short, I haven't seen any people in my personal social circle who are extremely short. So that's why I don't have a lot of experience to draw on. Now, I have seen extremely short men in my travels, and frankly, they weren't with very attractive women. And I would say, in general, most of the really attractive women are probably with guys that are 5'10", 6 foot, 6'1" range, from what I have seen. Now, let me finish the story, and then I will give you some pointers. So we were walking to the destination and she was like, "Wow, you are shorter than I thought you were." And I was like, "Oh, why is that?" And she's like, "Oh, you just look taller in your picture." I was like, that's interesting. Well, if it's a problem for you, you are welcome to leave. No hard feelings. I completely understand. And here's the thing, I don't remember if she asked my height or if my height was in my bio or not, or if it was on Bumble where you put your height. I honestly just don't remember. But I was like, if you feel deceived, you are welcome to leave. No harm, no foul. And she's like, oh no, it's okay. It's just one of the things that I noticed. And I was like, oh, all right, no problem. And then we ended up going to a tea house. Shout out tea houses. And I will mention, this girl was not super short herself. She was probably 2 inches shorter than me. Extremely attractive. And we got to talking and I was like, oh, do you usually date guys who are around your height, or are they taller? Are they shorter? And keep in mind, this was in Eastern Europe. And she is like, oh, it doesn't really matter to me as long as they aren't super short, hint, hint. And then we were talking about her friends, and she said, yeah, most of my friends are the same way. As long as they are around my height or taller, it really doesn't matter. And so with all that said, that's the only time in my entire life someone mentioned my height. And guess what? It didn't matter to her, and in fact, we ended up sealing the deal, if you know what I mean. And so there's an example how at the outset she was questionable about my height, or it was something she at least noticed. And then I kind of overcame the objection by just saying, oh, if it's a problem, you can leave, which kind of improved my status and showed her that I had an abundance mindset when it came towards women, but this is not a dating coach type video. And then ultimately we had a great time. Now, some tips. If you are on the shorter end of the spectrum, I recommend wearing Chelsea boots because they're going to give you a little bit of a height boost. I personally wear Tom Ford Chelsea boots. You could probably find other Chelsea boots that are much more affordable. But I will caution you that they probably aren't going to be the most comfortable if you look for the most budget-friendly option. And then another tip, if you are putting your height in your bio or in your dating app profile, or if it's a required field or whatever, then I suggest you treat this like you are an NBA player. And so what I mean by that is in the NBA, they put the height of players in their shoes. So I would put your height when you are in shoes, preferably in Chelsea boots. So you're going to get a little bit of a height advantage. So yes, technically I lie or deceive by putting my height as my height in shoes. And no one has ever commented on this and no one has ever had a problem with it. But here's what I'll say. If you feel like this is super deceptive of you, I would argue that women wearing loads of makeup, women getting plastic surgery, women using Facetune, women using filters are all way more deceptive than lying about a centimeter or two or however it may be as it relates to your height. And frankly, I really don't feel it is lying or deceptive because they're going to be meeting me in my shoes. So just don't put your barefoot height in my opinion. Now, don't lie and say you're like 6 inches taller than you actually are. Then that is lying and deceptive and noticeable. And one reason you're going to want to do this is because on dating apps, it's a proven fact that most men who are of a certain height get the most matches. And it's like a bell curve. So the shorter you are, the less matches you get. But if you even increase yourself by 2 centimeters, that is way more matches than if you put your barefoot height. Okay, so that's gonna wrap up this video. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like this video because it helps with the algorithm. Leave a comment down below sharing your experience dating overseas and how height affected your experience, if it did at all. And I will see you guys in the next video. And as always, peace, much love.